brings up a very interesting question, right? Very interesting question. Can Tina be separated from Tina and Ike, which is essentially sort of, what I think the documentary is alluding to. We're gonna start off here by just playing a little something just to warm the people up a little bit as far as what's going on here. Without further ado, we are gonna check this out.
Look what I have done in this lifetime with this body. I'm a girl from a cotton field that pulled myself above what was not taught to me.
Are you ready, Bobby?
The fantastic Ike and Tina Turner review!
It was Ike's band, but Tina was the shining star.
When I saw her dance, she was all I could look at.
He rehearsed constantly. And then the pressure came that we had to work more to try to get a hit. And I was afraid.
I had an abusive life. There's no other way to tell the story. Buddhism was a way out.
I started really seeing that I had to make a change.
The divorce, I got nothing. No money, no house. So I said, I'll just take my name.
And then we tried to get a record deal. Nobody would touch Tina Turner.
She'd play anywhere just to make the money to get by.
My dream is to be the first black rock and roll singer to pack places like the Stones.
When she became successful, the past came up.
Her story reached so many people who felt like they had to keep their secrets locked away deep down.
It's hard. One of the worst parts of your life has been an inspiration. No, I don't consider it a comeback. Tina had never arrived. It hurts to have to remember those times. But at a certain stage, forgiveness takes over.
Yeah. So for those who are wondering, that is the documentary Tina, out right now on HBO Max. You were just listening to the trailer for said documentary. So we're gonna have a little conversation here. I kind of, I didn't know exactly where I wanted to come with this conversation, but after watching that trailer again, I think I have a good idea of where I want to go with this conversation.
Okay, so I'm gonna follow your lead.
So yeah. So first things first, we need to get the obvious out of the way. Tina Turner is an amazing woman. Let's just get that out of here first. I think that it shouldn't need to be said, but fuck it, we'll say it. She's an amazing woman, man. Coming from where she came from, man, and I didn't know anything about her backstory before her music career. But her parents just basically just up and left her, dude. Like that to me, when I saw that and I heard that, I was like, holy shit, like what? And then obviously all the turmoil with Ike, and then being sort of discarded, after her and Ike divorced, and to see where she came to after that, simply amazing. There aren't many musical acts that reached the heights that Tina Turner reached, and she did so because she's just a fucking amazing performer, dude. There are a lot of people who are good at singing, and then there are some people who are good at both singing and performing. She's the entire fucking act, dude. She's just she's mesmerizing to watch. What were your like memories of Tina Turner as a kid? Because mine are a little scattered in that It really was the movie that really got me introduced to Tina Turner. Even though I had been listening to the music, but I didn't. There wasn't a connection there between like the music and the person until the movie What's Love Got to Do About It with starring Angela Bassett, who plays Tina Turner. But what were your memories of either
No, I
listening
mean
or
just
watching?
that. I learned the most about who Tina Turner was as a person through that movie, right? And even like at a young age, when I thought about Tina Turner, who I was really thinking about was Angela Bassett, who, as you said, starred in the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, opposite of Lawrence Fishburne, who played, was it Ike? Did Lawrence Fishburne play Ike?
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne
Yes.
played like, yeah.
So that is like who came to mind for me as a young person who knew some of the songs but didn't really know the person. And then here's this like stellar movie in which tells this person's life. So again, I just thought about Angela Bassett. But I mean, I grew up in a household where my mom loved Tina Turner. She'd play the music. You'd hear the music on TV, and like surprisingly, I know more Tina Turner songs than I realized as I was watching this documentary. Obviously, it's filled with all of her music, and I'm like, as I'm going through it, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know that was a Tina Turner song. Or like, I didn't know that was, maybe I heard it in like a commercial or a TV show or like a jingle or something like that, where you just don't realize it's that person's music because they've put out such a large body of work that like sometimes you just kind of miss it. But this documentary filled in a lot of the gaps. And a big part of that was like the backstory, which I mean, I just had, about the abuse, like for a long period of time, it was just like a punchline, right? It was like a joke, I'm a beat you like Ike beat Tina, right? But like you don't, when you're younger, that it is kind of funny and cool if you make that joke. But when you watch this documentary, you see just how much this person had to survive, and how she triumphed through all of that.
Yeah.
So this is, I thought it was phenomenal. I thought this was a great story. And we've watched a few other documentaries this year, and I like documentaries. This is one of the things I always look for on Netflix and Hulu or HBO Max. We watched the Britney Spears, not necessarily a documentary, but like the Britney Spears story recently. I thought that one left more questions than answers. This one answered a lot of questions.
Yeah. Now, one of the questions that were answered that I didn't even know was a fucking question was how Tina Turner, and it's kind of crazy, right? You in with public personas, you tend to forget to ask the very essential question of how does the actual person feel about all this shit, right? And as I was watching the movie as a kid, certainly I was not thinking, how does the real Tina Turner feel about this movie? You just assume, oh yeah, she just wants to get her story out there. It's great. That she's able to tell her story. And as getting older, you might think, oh, maybe this is like a little cathartic for her. But yeah, you don't really stop to think, how does she feel about this? And that's one thing that the documentary definitely touched on a lot, which was how she felt about telling this story, specifically her relationship with Ike, right? And having to basically relive it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out she is not so much of a fan of having to relive this and talk about it. And, every time her name is mentioned, somehow Ike gets mentioned as well, and it comes from like a number of different ways, a couple of which are, for one, she's a fucking phenomenal singer, performer. She's the whole nine, right? But yet her name is synonymous with Ike's, and that has to be challenging as an artist, for you to like not be able to be divorced from potentially like, and then Ike, say what you will about him, clearly Ike's a piece of shit, no doubt. But he's also one of the legends. Like I think he's inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
And so his contributions can't necessarily be overlooked either, right? So it puts her in a very tough position, artistically speaking, right? When she's so fucking talented, but because of this story, it seems like she can't be divorced, although she technically is, she can't be divorced from Ike. But then the addition to that is clearly like the abuse and having to relive all that trauma and shit, right? On a consistent basis. Now, I say all that to say, brings up a very interesting question, right? Very interesting question. Can Tina be separated from Tina and Ike, which is essentially sort of, what I think the documentary is alluding to. But, can we separate Tina from the idea of Tina and Ike, I'm gonna take a little bit of a stab at it at first, and then you can hop in.
Okay.
I would say definitively yes, but it depends on who you ask. The reason why I say that is because I really don't have an association with her and Ike, musically speaking. I don't. The only song that I really, really know of theirs is Proud Mary, right? That's the only one that I'm really like 100%. Maybe there's some other ones. I don't know. I'd go back through the catalog. They have tons of fucking songs. But I don't really like, cause I wasn't born really at that time. That was like back in like the 70s, dude, or even 60s, I think if I got my timelines right, that they were doing all that stuff. So I don't really have like too much of an association, musically speaking. Clearly I know about the story, because of What's Love Got to Do with It. But musically speaking, I just knew Tina as Tina Turner, and that was it to me, because really the tracks that I was most familiar with Tina Turner from, musically speaking, were obviously What's Love Got to Do with It, which is not arguably, that is her biggest hit of all time. And then also The Best off of her second album. I think it was in 1989, and now the name of that album's escaping me. It was Private Dancer, and then there was one other. There's one in '89, whatever. But yeah, there are a few songs on there that I was like more familiar. So, anyways, so I don't really have like an association with her and Ike, musically speaking. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I associate Tina Turner's music with her and her alone. Like, I'm not too familiar with any of the, and granted, I probably have heard or would recognize Ike and Tina Turner songs, but the ones I'm more familiar with are, like What's Love Got to Do with It, obviously, Proud Mary, and a couple others that, just I can forget the name of them at the moment. But like if the song came on, I'd recognize it instantly. But yeah, it would be unfortunate to have your legacy unfortunately tied to one of the most traumatic parts of your life, right? And even though Ike and Tina as a duo, they did make and I mean the band that they work with, they made great music. And it's like, okay, well, the music that we made was great, the experience was terrible, and I was able to like grow from that and create a career for myself. But like in every interview, even I imagine even today, she still gets those questions about not necessarily her music or her body of work, but like that relationship, the abuse. And so I don't blame her for not being a huge fan of, the film, What's Love Got to Do with It, or just how her story is told. Always focusing on like the abuse and the trauma and whatnot. Whereas like, I'd love to just talk about the music and her art. And I'm sure she would love to just talk about her music and the artistry. It's kind of like, Tom Brady and Belichick. You're not going to talk about one without the other. But fortunately for them, the majority of it is positive, right? Now, imagine if it was like something extremely negative, you had to relive it every day because people just won't let you move past it.
Yeah. Yeah. What I can say on top of all that is, look, we here, especially here in America, I can't really speak for anywhere else because all I really know is America, right?
We need to travel more.
I mean, fair enough.
Americans.
Okay, I'm not even gonna. Okay. Anyways, I'm not even gonna.
Listen, you got your COVID shot. go ahead and book that flight.
Yeah, you're right. While I still can until the next pandemic comes
Got to
around.
stimulate the economy. Get these airlines.
It's all up to me. No, but so we here in America are obsessed with both celebrity and chaos. Though you mix those two things, oh man, you got yourself a story, right? So when somebody's in the public eye, and I think they even said something like this during the course of the documentary, which is when you're in the public eye, right? You no longer belong to you. You belong to the public, right? And so when you have somebody like Tina Turner, who, you know, is a phenomenal performer, phenomenal singer, but she's also got an insane story, you know, that she felt the need because you know, people kept asking her, why are you, well, you know, what's up with you and Ike? What's up with you and Ike? This is back, you know, before they were, I think either before they were divorced or whatever, around that time, right? Where they essentially broke up. Where she just left him because he was a raving lunatic. People kept asking like, what's up? And she's finally like, fuck it. All right, let me just put the story out there and hopefully people will know and be like, and then stop fucking asking me about it. You know, we can move the fuck on. Did not happen, clearly. And that's because we love, like I said, we love celebrity and we love chaos, right? And you put the two together and holy shit, you have a fucking chemical reaction, is what happens in that case. And so I think, unfortunately, man, and again, I'm not saying this because this is how I view it. I'm saying it because it's just fucking reality, especially here in America, is the story is just too salacious for America to drop, right? For like, even in her documentary where she's essentially put out this documentary because she's basically retiring from music. And so even in this documentary where she's essentially saying goodbye and hey, she wants to put all this to rest, half of the documentary was about Ike, you know, and her relationship with Ike. And so I think, unfortunately, like, and what happened to her, and I say that we're obsessed with chaos, and that's true, but also her story. Look, I'm saying this from personal like experience, right? You know, given things that happened with my family growing up, that this movie was so fucking what's the word? It was so therapeutic because a lot of crazy shit that my own dad did, you know. And I remember sitting there as a kid watching the movie, What's Love Got to Do with It, and like living vicariously, like that moment where she's in the car and she's like, fuck this shit, you know, and she's just like, not today, asshole, you know. That was such a empowering moment. And unfortunately, the thing that's like super fucking inspiring, and I think they even said this during the documentary, the thing that's like inspiring, you know, to other people is unfortunately the thing that she hates to see and talk about the most. and to talk about or to think about anybody who's been through that kind of trauma in their life, it's a no-brainer that of course they don't want to fucking talk about it, right? Because, you know, you like, again, thinking about my own life, it has to, there has to be a point where you can just move on from it, and you know, that where you don't think about it every day, or you know, it's not something that's brought up consistently. Have you ever like run into like somebody who knew you when you were like younger, like and you're a fucking knucklehead, and every time you see this person, they treat you like you're still that knucklehead, and you're like, that's funny, but also I'm growing to shit right now. Like I'm a little different than than you remember me as, but they will not let you forget that you used to be a little fuck up. I imagine, you know, and obviously I'm not saying at all like that's what, you know, I'm clearly not saying that's what she is, but I'm saying it's like a comparable thing of like, people just won't let you forget about the fucking past. Like they'll just keep reminding you, especially if that's like all they know of you, you know? And so, yeah, I've been talking for a while. What do you think?
You know, I mean, I definitely echo all the things that you said, right? one of the things I love most about this documentary was like, again, how the story was told. It gives you a lot of her backstory, which I didn't know. A large portion of it does kind of focus on her relationship with Ike Turner, which and like the abuse and the trauma, which we knew about, but we didn't know the extent of it. I didn't. Most of us didn't realize the gravity of it, right? And um, I also didn't have to I did also didn't realize like how much she had to live with it, year after year after year for, almost like 3 decades, right? Still to this day, still having to like live with it. Even as she's watching this very documentary, I imagine she's like, she watched this before it came out or watched the premiere or something like that. And again, a large part of it is about the abuse, right? So it still hasn't gone away. People still aren't over talking about it. And like you said, or like she said in the documentary, her what the part of her story that people find the most people find the most like relatable to, and her sharing this trauma has allowed other people to also like share theirs and defeat their trauma as well. Uh, but having to like see it every day still must kind of fucking suck. Which is definitely something that she highlights in this. But overall, I just thought like this is a triumphant story. I remember watching it, and especially like towards the end when you see how like she won her name in the lawsuit, and
Or
how like
the
she got
divorce,
nothing
yeah.
else. Sorry, in the divorce, she like won her name and she kept her name, and like, and that was really all she needed, right? Like she was like basically, fuck the house, fuck the cars, fuck the money. I just want my name and opportunity. And when she got those things, like she not necessarily and I'm going to use this lightly, but like she became who she was always meant to be, right? Like this solo star who was so wildly talented that all she needed was like an opportunity, and she took off. I was like reading some like interesting facts about her life. I mean, 12 Grammy Awards. She sold more concert tickets than any other performer in history, which is insane. Because I mean, that's what she is, right? She's a performer. I think she's more than just a musician. Like she loves the stage, right? She loves to be like out on concert. She loves to tour, and just have sold more concert tickets than anybody else in the world, and having survived that trauma that she survived was, I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. So to put a button on this, can you separate Tina from Ike? Personally speaking, I can. But also, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure that the public can, because I think that again, we love celebrity and we love chaos. So unfortunately, her story seems to be just the epitome of those two facets. And so I don't think in the public eye you can separate Tina from Ike. And to be perfectly honest, if I'm being perfectly honest, for her personally, I hope she has peace, and I hope she never fucking thinks about any of the shit, that happened with her and Ike. But for the public, I'm not quite sure we should, because again, like I said, I think that story, it does stuff for people, and again, like people can go back and watch What's Love Got to Do with It today. And if if something's going on in your life, if you're dealing with some sort of abuser or somebody who's manipulating you, or somebody who is physically abusing you, that story is at least it can be very, like I said, very sort of therapeutic and very sort of eye-opening. Seeing somebody go through that, and then seeing what she became after that, that she didn't even just reinvent herself. She went to heights even further than she was, before that, so anyways, the documentary Tina is on HBO Max right now. Go check that shit out. It's definitely worth a watch, man. I know I thoroughly enjoyed it. You seem like you enjoyed it as well. It was a shit, man. So yeah, go check that out. We are going to hop